All right, here we go. We are live. This is very exciting. Just wait for a couple people to join in. Just wait for a couple people to join in. All right. So here we go. If you have been looking to wonder what's a framework, what's a process that you can start improving your health, you can see or start getting better each and every day, you can actually start applying compounding health principles. We synthesized all of this information just for you, and we really want to change the the perception people have about what health is. I understand it can be confusing, but there's little things that you can do every day. This doesn't have to be this huge, confusing process. But when you understand what layer you're working on, right? Because we're always juggling these layers. And so I want to get into it. I don't want to get ahead of myself, right? I want to help you master the 5 layers. We all know that there's 5 layers to health, but it goes beyond that. And so this is a master class of optimal health, our 4M strategy, and then the 10 laws of health mastery. You have to go through. There's a process, there's a sequence, and you have to go through it. So let's get right into it. This process will actually help you to extinguish the inflammation and drop your next 20 pounds. That's what you're going to get from this, right? And so if you're wondering what happens as a result of mastery, it's your body's ability and your ability to lose weight on autopilot. I call this, really personally, I call this my autopilot healing system, right? This is what I do so that way I can be fit continuously. And what we realized you have to go through, right? And a lot of people practice some level of unconscious competence when it comes to their health. And so you wonder, man, how does that person have this level of effortless healing that's going on in their body? They look like they're getting these results and it seems automatic for them. This is why, right? They're unconsciously practicing these 5 layers to health. And so really, I want you to think about this, guys, because our goal today isn't to fix a problem. It's actually to show you how much weight you're actually holding, right? As a massage therapist, when I'm working with my clients, they often tell me so many times, I didn't know I had tension there. I didn't know I had this issue that was happening, in my foot, in my neck, in my back, right? Until somebody actually releases the stimulus, removes the trigger. And so it's the same way. You don't feel the weight until you step into a zero gravity, right? I don't know if you've ever done those free falling, tests, where you go to these facilities and you can practice, right? How to actually parachute and all these different things. And so this is what we want to help you to do today, right? We want to actually help you to identify where's that stressor coming from, what's the trigger, and then exactly what you can do about it. Because the brain fog, the 2 p.m. crashes, the low grade anxiety isn't just symptoms, right? This is your baseline, and your body's letting you know, hey, you need to do something about it. And so unconsciously, a lot of people just accept it, and it becomes the pattern of how they hold their life together. And so in this masterclass, we're going to cover why most people never escape the health deficit, the 5 layers of health, where we're going to break down actually where it begins and how you can do this yourself, the 4M strategy that we recognized as my wife had to exit her autoimmune condition, and we'll go over that. And these are 4 areas of nutrition you must feed. You must. You can't skip sequence. And so then there's 10 laws of health mastery. What we realized is, for me, just being a bodybuilder, operating principles that help me to stay fit, and what I realized I was applying. And so we synthesized this level of unconscious competence, and we're hopefully giving it to you so you can apply it yourself, and why we believe mastery is the only way forward in 2026 and beyond. And so if you're excited to really recognize a pattern and a sequence of health, let's get into it. Right. And so who are we, right? After 8,500 hours of working in a clinical context, working as a medical massage therapist, consulting with clients, working with NFL players, working with athletes at a high level, working in a hospice, all of these different experiences helped us to synthesize this protocol. And then once my wife, she wasn't my wife at the time, but she had an autoimmune condition where she went blind. She had inflammation in all four layers of her eyes. And in this picture right here, this is her graduating from chiropractic college, right? So now she's a doctor of chiropractic. And so there was some things that we learned along the way that we had to synthesize and realize all of our clients are going through these symptoms. And it didn't matter whether you were suffering from parasites. It didn't matter whether, it was a postural dysfunction. There was a state that we had to bring all of our clients back to in order to promote healing in their life. And so this is what we're going to cover today. And so the brain fog, the inflammation, the anxiety, the chronic pain, even procrastination, these are not inconveniences. They are attacks against your future potential. And so we believe that this is not by accident. We can't get into it on a live stream, right? But these symptoms that we're experiencing are an attack. And this is important to notice that once you know that it's an attack and that there's an intentional force being applied against your body, you recognize how intentional you have to become in order to get out of it. We've watched poor health outcomes and unnecessary surgeries steal the power from people's lives, steal people's hope, and produce hopelessness. And so I hope this masterclass produces some level of liberation for you, produces some level of, I can do this. I can do this. And you can. And so why do most people fail at health, right? And so what we've been conditioned into is chasing the next symptom. And so people treat health like a to-do list of symptoms. They fix the back, they calm the gut, they want to sleep better, so they take the melatonin, right? And they're just not really getting to health at the root. We haven't been taught a root cause system to approaching our health. And so they end up hopping from program to program, hopping from practitioner to practitioner, hoping that they're going to get a solution, doing the cold plunges, the mobility program, biohacking, right? Another challenge, right? Another detox, somebody promising you another supplement. These are all real things, guys. These are all real, quote unquote, solutions. But what happens is it's only working at one layer is the problem. And so you have to reframe it, right? Your body isn't 20 separate problems. It's one system that breaks down in layers. I want to let that sink in. It's one system that breaks down in layers. And when you can rebuild the layer, when you can understand, oh man, this is happening at this mechanical layer, right? This construct of my body, this position and this posture is actually putting some pressure on my stomach and my from my diaphragm, right? It's not properly compressing on my stomach to produce the stomach acid. Then you can say, oh, okay, I got to deal with my posture. And so here we go, guys. After 15 years of hands-on clinical work, we realize there's a pattern every person's body has to go through. There's a pattern. And so 3 days later, guilty, right? In the beginning of my medical massage journey, my clients would text me a couple days later, and they would say, I'm feeling the pain again. I'm feeling the pain again, Nate. What do I do? And so we're going to hand you these tools because we understand health happens in layers. And so let's get to these layers. There's 5 layers of health. And so let's just skip this slide, right? There's 5 layers of health. There's spiritual, mental, emotional, the nervous system, physical and structural, cellular and metabolic. And so at the spiritual layer, we're talking about your identity, right? The words that have been spoken over your life. And this is not to push you into some level of like religious context. This is actually to show you that there's a layer deeper. And if you don't address it, you're ignoring a trigger that pulls you back. Mental, emotional. Most people don't know that there's layers to their emotions. There's levels of energy to your emotions. So anger, right, can trigger you down into a lower vibrational state. They've mapped this, guys. And so most people stick with that emotion because they think that it's getting them somewhere, but it's actually tearing them down at a structural level. Your cells, your brain recognizes these emotional states. And at a very cellular level, it's responding to it. And because you can't see it, we end up with unforgiveness, right? Not forgiving somebody for something that grief, these things stick with you and are in your mind, and they are causing you harm at a cellular level. And so your nervous system, this is how your body perceives stress. This is your proprioception. This is the trigger and the trauma that happens. Maybe you were in an accident, maybe there's an experience that happened to you, and you have to learn how to wire your body back into a parasympathetic state. So your nervous system has two states, parasympathetic and sympathetic, and most people live in this sympathetic dominant state. And we're going to get into it later, how you can get out of that sympathetic fight or flight state. Most people know, but they don't know how to trigger it, right? And this is about actively, consciously activating ways to get your body back into an optimal health state. And so physical and structural, we know our posture is jacked up. If you're anything like me, from time to time, I sit at my desk, but this is about releasing that tension. And it's not about pulling your shoulders back, right? Cellular and metabolic. The key at the cellular and metabolic layer is to understand that this is mitochondrial and this is your cell membrane, right? And those two big keys at the cellular level will reshape how you start to think about your health. And so let's get into the first layer, right? Words are the currency of the spirit, and the word you believe about yourself dictates what kind of health and life you're moving towards. And so the big key that we recognized here is that, and that was powerful. And the big key that we recognized here is that in order to move your life forward, there is a word you believe about your future. So if you were to ask an athlete, and when we work with athletes and we do the performance consulting, what they believe about their future and how they believe about themselves, they believe they're the greatest. And so the work that they put in is in correlation about what they believe about themselves. And so what we realized we had to do with our clients is we had to start getting them to associate new words about themselves, a new level of identity. And so the beliefs held at the core of your identity has what has been spoken over your life. And we realized, not everybody has been spoken well of over their life growing up. And these subconscious words are really what's dictating how you're moving forward, why you feel stuck. You have to reset this layer. And this spiritual layer is also what you pull from. It's your resource. And so we call it the well. A city can build the finest pipes in the world, but if the well is dry, nothing flows. Your source is the well. Every layer below it draws from this water. And so what's the state of your well? What are you drawing from? What's the source of your energy, right? And words, and that's why I say words are powerful, because you draw your energy from the words you think about in your mind. I heard this quote once. You can use words without thinking, but you can't think without using words. And so that's you right now, right? Your ability to go forth right now after this webinar, after this live call, right, and to do something different with your life is going to be a result of the way you think about yourself differently. And so what's the state of your well? What are some new words you can associate with yourself? What are some new words you can associate with your health? And let's move on. Mental, emotional, guys, there is a layer. There's a level of energy. And in our health academy, we've broken down the levels of energy and actually created a short book interactive book that you can go through and figure out what layer or level of health or level of emotional state you are living in. And then you can figure out what's the first thing that you need to do to replace it, right? And so everybody has a standard emotion, a default state their nervous system returns to when nothing external demands otherwise. And so these are the subconscious patterns, guys. Your dominant thought patterns, your baseline emotional state, and the inner narrative you repeat. My wife likes to call it looper thinkers, right? Where you're just repeating these emotions and these experiences on loop, and they become the frozen state in which you live your life, right? And so you're trying to heal from a state that has it's not moving. It's not moving. And this is where we use coaching, guys. This is where we use a little level of logos therapy to kind of replace that emotional state and apply some layer of forgiveness. And you can do that on your own, right? But if you're trying to go to the gym without replacing this level of forgiveness, without replacing a new mental narrative in your brain, in your body about yourself that you actually believe. This is not affirmations. Affirmation is the process of reminding yourself that you believe it. But the actual thing that you want is to really think about what you believe about yourself. The next step, the next word, the next emotional state that you want. You want to live in a state of joy. You want to live in a state where your desire and your longingness for life is improved. Well, you gotta just think about it. Think about that next word, that next state. And so this is where the low grade anxiety, chronic frustration, and emotional flatness becomes your normal. And the really cool thing about this is that we actually found a supplement, and we'll include it after this is done. We found a supplement that can actually work directly in the brain to increase your desire, to increase your level of desire for life. And so this no longer has to be something, man, I got to work myself up to it, right? If you're thinking, man, okay, how do I change that in my brain? We've actually discovered some proprietary supplements that do it for you. So now it's just a result of, are you willing to put in the work, right? Do a little bit of journaling, right? Join our community where we kind of partner you up with people who are working on it themselves. And so if that sounds exciting to you, just comment down below. Exciting. When you're watching this again, this is very exciting. This is exciting for us because once you have to work on this layer. And once you know that there are supplements that work in your body in order to give you a new emotional baseline, a new desire for going to the gym. Most people don't know. They think that they don't want to go to the gym because they don't want to. But really, they've just trickled down into a lower level of energy where the frequency is off. You're working at the wrong layer. That level of energy, that frequency doesn't like the gym. And that's happening in your brain. So you think that that's you, but really you're human. Every human wants to move. And I will stand by that. Every human wants to move. If you think that not moving is just how you are wired, it's just not true. It's how you become rewired, but that's not you. And so then we have our nervous system, right? This is your breaker panel, right? This is your stress-based state. And this is where we apply breathing to rewire you back into a parasympathetic state. Because every thought and emotion crosses this bridge, and then it moves into the next layer where it becomes locked into your body. And so this fight or flight can become your dominant state. And I know that was me for a very long period of time, right? Especially living in New York, that's your dominant state. That's how I lived my life, was in this low level nervous system dominant or fight or flight sympathetic dominant state. And so this dominant state keeps your fascia in its defensive state. It keeps you contracted, bracing. And so you don't have to live like that anymore. And then we have the physical structural, right? We talked about how the nervous system and your emotions were locking you in this state, the way that you were thinking about your words that you associate with yourself, all trickles down into this physical and structural layer, right? Where now your fascia and your posture are directly correlated to how you think about yourself and the stress that you're holding in your body. And so fascia is the connective web that wraps every muscle, bone, nerve, and organ. One continuous tissue from foot to skull. and is the physical address of every unresolved layer above it. If you've ever hurt yourself, if you've ever tripped, your fascia is holding on to it. And because your fascia fascia is a colloid substance, and all that means is when it's hot, it's liquid, and when it's cold, it's solid. And that solid tissue, when you go to sleep every night, all of the blood in your body goes towards your core. And so your peripheral hands and feet aren't getting the same level of heat applied to them. So that's why when you wake up in the morning, you feel like you got to stretch. You feel like you got to unstick your body. You got to stretch. You got to get some blood flow going. And that's why, red light and all these different therapies can help you, because it's going to help increase the blood flow and the cellular healing at that layer. But ultimately, you should have free flowing blood flow. Ultimately, there should be an optimal posture is where all of your circulatory systems, lymphatic, right, are free flowing. And so when you're dealing with the physical and structural, when you're exercising, a lot of people, when they exercise, they get tighter and they get tighter and tighter and tighter, and they get more restricted. And then what happens is their exercises are doing more damage than they're doing good. And then they end up not working out anymore. And I see that happen all the time. When I started out as a trainer, you get the person who would come maybe 6, 7, 8 months. And then on that 8th month, they would say, my shoulder started hurting. They would say, my back felt, very uncomfortable. I feel stiff. And that's it. That's it for them. And then for that person, working out becomes sporadic. And I don't want that to be you. And then on this last layer, we have cellular and metabolic, right? Your mitochondria are the powerhouse of your cells. Your cellular metabolic system, what we've recognized is when you work on the mitochondrial layer and when you work on your cell membrane, you are rebuilding your body's ability to repel toxins. That's it. That's the most important thing that you need to know about cellular and metabolic, is that you need to get nutrition down to your mitochondria, which we've also found a supplement for that delivers nutrition straight to your mitochondria. And then when you have to rebuild your cell membrane, that is your omega-6-3 ratio. And so when you rebuild your omega-6s, you intake healthy fats, right? You can get a Zinzino, right? That is literally the best fish oil company by body weight that actually has a protocol and a system to rebuild your cell membrane, this omega-6-3 ratio. And so when you're actually doing that, what you're doing is you're repelling inflammation. You're reducing that chronic inflammatory cycle, because this is what your brain runs on. It runs on healthy fats. And so now we know healing has a sequence. It flows from a source straight into your identity, into your tissues, affecting your organs, controlling your emotions. They say your gut is your second brain. How did it get there? Right? Before it's your gut, it's your cells, your tissue. That's your cells. That's your cell membrane. Your organs are made up of cells. And so when you can feed your cells and they all have the nutrition that they need, then you don't have to necessarily worry about your gut being inflamed. What you have to worry about is now posturally are you in alignment with your body, right? And that's your emotions and your actions. Now you can work out. When you have nutrition down at the mitochondrial level, you're feeding your mind healthy information that is making you stronger each and every day. Stronger, faster, wiser, better, right? These are the things that you believe about yourself. I am wiser every day. I am stronger every day. These are the concepts that govern your brain, right? If you're a believer, I am created in the image of God. This is a concept and a structure that feeds you every day, because you know the power that is in your body, the power that you've been created with, and that you're not a monkey. And so the layers of the map, the nutrition is the fuel, And so when you set the right foundation under all these 5 layers, the next thing is critical nutrition to 4 specific areas of your body. And we kind of touched into it, right? How we came up with the 4M strategy was when we looked at all 5 of these layers, we realized there were some specific things we had to touch on. And so that's our 4M strategy. 4 critical areas, 1 aligned body. Let's do this. And so we have mitochondrial, metabolic, mental, and mechanical. When you align nutrition across these 4 areas, you show up in life as an optimally healthy person. So this is not about not ever getting sick again. That's what most people think optimal health is. No, this is no matter what comes against you, you have the ability and the tools to fight it back. And as a result, it never overtakes you. And so if that's something that sounds exciting to you, if reversing some of the issues that are happening in your body sounds exciting to you, then let's continue. Because you don't need more discipline, you need the right sequence. Most people are just in a hamster wheel of effort because they don't have a sequence to approach health every day. And so they do some PT over here when, their joints aren't operating right. Maybe they'll come to a massage therapist as a last ditch effort, right? Because they realize, oh, maybe I do have some tension, and they do it one time, and maybe you'll see that person again 3 months later. And if you're good, maybe the next month, right? Typically, most people don't have a protocol around massage either. And then you try the next diet, right? And then you go see a chiropractor, and the chiropractor has their protocol, right? A good chiropractor is actually treating your body at all of these layers. And that's what we realized, right? And all of these things separately are good, guys. You want to see a PT, right? If they're good, right? Even a massage therapist, if they're good, even a chiro, if they're good. How do you find somebody who's good? How do you find the right thing that works for you? And what we realized is, in between going to these variable care practitioners, right? The best thing that you could do is understand how your body works, and then have a language that you can communicate with people, practitioners about. Because if your chiropractor, your massage therapist, your PT, or the person who's giving you that nutrition protocol doesn't know about mitochondria, if they don't know about your cell membrane and switching your omega-6-3 ratio, if they don't know about how your diaphragm impacts your gut, if they don't know about getting your body into a parasympathetic state, that person's not good enough. Not that they're not good, they're not good enough. And that's something that I experienced, guys. I mean, this information was synthesized by recognizing I could be better, right? This is not just, we came up with this protocol. I realized I could be better. How could I get health to my clients faster? How can we get them results at a better level? How can we get them more bang for their buck because they're coming to us as a massage therapist? Like, especially when you're working in a chiropractic office, people come to you on their last leg and they need to be fixed right away. And if you don't fix that problem within 50 minutes or 30 minutes, they're never coming back. And so it's hard work, but you realize, okay, I can be better. I can get more done within these 30 minutes. I can get more done. And then you start giving them homework, and then you recognize, oh, the clients who come back and do these things, they actually get the results. Oh, when I put these 3-4 things together, they get the results, right? And so we started over the last 10, 15 years putting together this protocol, and now it's properly synthesized. And we've been helping a couple of people go through this monthly. And so if you're really ready to know more, still comment below excited when you're seeing this. And yeah, we'll reach out to you and you can join our academy. And so mitochondrial, this is the powerhouse of your cells, guys, and the currency of biological function. If your mitochondria are not receiving nutrition, your cell life cycle is going down. So like the life cycle of blood is 120 days, right? You're looking at 90 days. You're just looking at a less efficient body. Oxygen delivery is going to be at a decline. Your brain cells, the brain fog. This is a key, right? If you don't feel sharp, and this was me for a second. I mean, guys, we're telling you this because we lived it. If you don't feel sharp, if you feel like your mind is on the decline, if you don't feel like you can remember things, and then chronic stress is really getting you down and it feels like you can't get up in the morning, your mitochondria aren't getting the nutrition that you need. And so oftentimes clients will come to us and they say, yeah, I'm on the greatest diet ever, but I still don't feel that well. It doesn't matter. Your body isn't processing the nutrition. So for a lot of people, they're not absorbing the nutrition that they're even intaking from their foods. And so that should tell you something, right? It should tell you some toxins are probably in your body, or you might have another substance that's absorbing the nutrition. It's taking away that nutrition for itself, right? And that's what parasites do. And so we have the metabolic layer, right? Your metabolism is the sum total of all of the nutrient processes in your body, the chemical reactions that's happening. But when we talk about this metabolic layer where you have to feed nutrition, we're talking about chronic inflammation and this omega-6-3 ratio. The American diet sits somewhere between 20 to 1. This is high levels of inflammation, guys. This is why we feel so stiff. This is the disrupted sleep. These are the toxins attacking your body. And what happens is when your omega-6-3 ratio is off, omega-6s tend to be more brittle. Think of omega-3s being a little bit more spongy. Toxins slip into the cell membrane. They slip into the cell, and then they quietly take over and cause your cellular disruptors, right? Cellular disruptors. And you can replace that with healthy fats, right? And it's best to take, and this is where we realize the power of supplements. At each one of these layers, mitochondrial, metabolic, you can find supplements that deliver nutrition straight to these layers. For metabolic, it's your omega-6-3 ratio, and you have to reset that. We said with Zinzino, right? This is the only company that we know of to date that is doing fish oil by body weight from an actual nutritive source, and that's actually giving you a pH blood test to tell whether how good you were before and how good you are after, so you can retest it yourself. And so this doesn't have to be something where you're figuring it out. There's no more guesswork needed when it comes to what supplements you need. And we give those out for free in the academy, and the link will be posted somewhere when this is over. And then we have the mental layer. Oh, we told you. Now we have supplements. This is the protocol, guys. We have supplements that work directly in the brain to reset, to just trigger. It's not giving you anything. It's tuning your body. It's tuning your nervous system, tuning your brain to activate. That's it. It's brain technology. But when you don't know this is what you need, what happens is you just forget about it. You say, oh, I'm stressed. And you don't do anything about it. Oh, I'm stressed. I'm going to figure something out. Or I'm going to take some more melatonin. I get melatonin a lot, from my clients. They say, yeah, I'm taking the melatonin to get better sleep. That's not how this works. You can't trick your body. If you're in a sympathetic dominant fight or flight state, your only key, but it's the best key to consciously get out of the sympathetic dominant state is with breathing. Not only are you getting more oxygen into your body, but you are re-triggering your body's natural parasympathetic system. And then now with the super patch, right, which will be a link down below. Now with the super patch, we have figured out that you can put your body in a parasympathetic state for 30 days at a time, right? So now rather than just the massage lasting for the hour, 2 hours, the Cairo visit lasting for, maybe it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And then after you leave, maybe you feel it next day, a couple days later, right? Same with the PT visit, except for that never makes anybody feel better normally. They just feel more inflamed after they leave there. Now you can keep your body in a parasympathetic state. So now all of these healing processes and protocols that we're talking about become your new normal. You need a new normal. And so we have mechanical, right? Finally, an image I uploaded. And so we know fascia is what's holding your body in this state. So what's holding up your posture is fascia. And so when you know how to work with fascia, when you do exercises that stimulate these fascial patterns, what happens is you feel better every day and your workouts no longer attack you the next day. Oh, I'm so tight, right? And you just stay tight. And then hopefully, if you're good, you get on a foam roller and then maybe you feel a little bit better. But if nobody's told you how to release this fascia, if nobody's taught you that there's specific points at which your body holds tension based upon your day, here we go. We have a program that we just uploaded that we continue to work on called the Fascia Reset. And we show you where to put the foam roller in order to release these fascial patterns. Over here, we have the superficial backline, which is a fascial pattern, one of the anatomy trains, shout out to Tom Myers, where he created these, where he recognized, not created it, it's everybody's body works this way, but he realized there's these connective slings that work in your body and that cause tension to hold in patterns. And when you release the pattern, when you release the calf, you release the skull. When you release the foot, you release the skull. And so when you look at headaches, for example, or a head tension, let's say it like that, when you look at head tension and how that can be throbbing, you start understanding, oh, maybe it's just because I've been on my feet for too long. Maybe it's just because my calves are a little tight and they're not pumping like they should. And so I need to release them and then activate the muscles that should be activated, right? And it's very simple. But when you don't know, and then you come across this because your podiatrist tells you, or you come across this because your PT tells you, and then it seems like, oh man, all this stuff I got to learn. We're relearning how to use our body properly. And so if that sounds exciting to you, again, type excited down below, and we'll show you exactly how you can do it for yourself. But when you learn how your body works, you recognize it always works, guys, the same way every single time. And so the alignment decides how you show up in life. Your posture is how you show up in life every single day. And so what if we could fix your posture? And you could do it on your own, but we can help you as well. And so when you figure out how to shift your posture, shift your body, shift your cells, what do you think that does for you? You're running on cellular energy that all day. You don't have to worry about the 2 p.m. crash, 3 p.m. crash. Oh, my gut. Oh, I'm having this, level of reflux because your body is working properly, right? There's a new excitement to life, guys. And, I thought I just felt this way because this was my state of being, right? This is how I feel about myself. I'm just somebody who has more energy. But I realized I was practicing these principles every single day because I was a personal trainer first. I was a bodybuilder. And as a bodybuilder, you learn how to work on your body every single day. You try to find like little 1% tools that increase your ability to recover and show up and go to the gym every single day. And I realized as I was working out every single day, there were other people who couldn't because they weren't paying attention to the layers. They weren't paying attention to these different levels of health. And so now that we've closed the information gap, right? Now that you can see the layers, you know what to feed, you know exactly how to get nutrition on each level, right? Because we'll include the nutrient supplements down below. And you can find different supplements for yourself if you feel like, hey, man, I know a mitochondrial supplement. We have other supplements that we recommend, but we've tested these. We've tested these time and time again. And we have in our protocol that we use, we have a machine that does it for us and it tests it through your DNA. And so we get hyper specific with how we deliver nutrients to your body. I want to introduce to you the 10 laws of health mastery. I want to give you principles that you can walk away with, and you don't have to use all 10. These are just some that I recognized for myself. And as I worked with clients and high-performing athletes, these are just the things that I recognize they're doing. And if you want to be healthy, you need to practice health. You need to practice what other healthy people are doing and model it. because you can't run away from a principle and you can't run away from a pattern, right? This is why people end up in cycles, because they're trying to escape a pattern rather than create a new one. All right. So the law of the signal. Pain is not malfunction, it is information. When you have a symptom, you don't ignore it. That's all this is, right? Pain, fatigue, brain fog, cravings, poor sleep. Every symptom is a signal from a system asking for something specific. Most of the time, you're just not hydrated. Most people don't drink enough water. And so these symptoms end up being cellular because their body's not intaking water. And that's what we learned about salt, right? That's a little simple thing is, sodium opens up the ligand gates so the water can seep in. Wherever sodium goes, water follows, right? That's what they tell you in school. And so that's why something as simple as putting some salt in your water can really be life-changing. But you don't want to ignore the signals, guys. Your body is always telling you something. And so I want you to write down, what's the loudest signal your body is giving you right now? What stands out on the day-to-day? Write that down, right? Because you can ask us questions as we go along. And as you enter in the academy, as we repost this and you see this, you can ask yourself, what's the loudest signal your body is giving yourself right now? And so the law of architecture. Structure determines function, change the structure, and the function follows. When you put your body in optimal alignment, and we're not just talking about cracking backs here, right? My wife probably get upset I said that. But we're not just talking about adjustments here, right? We're talking about how the alignment of your body, utilizing your diaphragm to expand your ribs and to lubricate your spine, right? This shifts how oxygen is delivered to your body when you breathe properly. And so you need to understand, if you're in a poor posture, your organs are feeling it. Your liver is feeling it. Your kidneys are feeling it. They're feeling that excess tension and pressure. And you know what? Your lymphatic system is feeling it. And if your lymph is crushed, it's not getting free flow, you know what? That's called stagnation. And we all know what happens with stagnation. The law of the source. Healing flows from the top down, from the source outward, and never the surface inward, right? So you can't just start with working out. It's good. I mean, if it's the best place for you to start, I highly recommend it. If it's the easiest thing for you to do, that's what I always do, right? I always just keep working out because it's the thing I got it on autopilot now, so I can always do it. But I know I have to treat the lower layers or the higher layers, right? Depending on how you're looking at it. You have to look at what layer of health is not being addressed. It's not being addressed. And I guarantee you, when you start working on different layers, you start saying, I see this video. Every single cell inside my body is healthy and well. And he sings it to himself. You need to say that. You need to sing. You need to start talking about yourself and your body and your health and your future differently, and watch how things change, right? Because words have source level power to them. And so the law of the word, here we go. The words you speak over your health are either a protocol or a poison. I'm just going to let that sit right there. Every sentence you repeat is a seed planted in the same soil. A farmer who curses his field daily should not be surprised by the harvest. Don't keep that anger. Don't keep that emotion. And then don't lock it into the words that you speak over yourself or even other people, right? The law of inputs. The body can only build with the materials you deliver. And so rather than get focused on the outcome for the next 90 days, right? We used to do a lot of 30-day, you used to see it everywhere. 30-day get fit, 21-day challenge, lose the muscle fat. And then you know what happened? All of those people are still in the same spot, because they're not working at the right layer. They're stressing their body out. They're stressing their symptom out, forcing it to give them an outcome, rather than focusing on the inputs that deliver health to their body each and every day. Because health is not just about calories in, calories out. Health is not just about eat less, move more, right? Water, oxygen, sunlight, food. Water, oxygen, sunlight. Forget the food part for right now, because that's a whole nother different topic. Water, oxygen, sunlight. These are things that people, and if you feel like, okay, sunlight for a lot of people gets misconstrued because they go outside and then after they're having a vitamin D barrier. And this is where you start getting into a little bit controversial topics about chemtrails and things of that nature, because there's a layer that's being blocked by the sun. Hopefully I can say that, and hopefully it still goes live. But there's more stuff that we can talk about in the academy. But ultimately, there's a layer that's also being blocked at the cell membrane level. And so, hey, welcome. And so there's a layer that's being blocked. But this is about the law of inputs. And so when you can apply a daily habit structure to your body every day, to your health every day, how you speak over yourself every single day, right? This changes the outcome. Rather than focusing on, oh man, I'm going to lose this weight. That's going to happen regardless. When you focus on the system and the pattern and you do it every day and it becomes a habit for you, all of that stuff happens on autopilot. And so now we have the law of rhythm, right? The body runs on cycles: reset, load, build. You got to reset the structure, load it properly, and build. The law of motion. Fascia is hydrated by movement. Stillness is stagnation. And so when you're sitting down, you're locked in this forward posture, right? You're deteriorating your cells because they're not getting the proper hydration. They're not the proper circulatory flow isn't happening. And so we need to fix that. And it's very simple. Again, not just walking, restore the posture. Think about your feet. Your toes should be properly spread apart. There should be space. You can't, we ignore these things, but this is why we're in an unhealthy state. And it's very simple to fix, especially when you do the fascia reset and you just learn that you can put a ball underneath your foot and reset your foot tension. You can start stretching out your feet and start working on your balance right away. It's even better because now we figured out that, again, with the super patches, they can increase your balance. There's no other product on earth right now that can increase your balance within 10 seconds, make you stronger in your body within the next 10 seconds. And so this is supplement technology. It's not even a supplement. That's brain technology that you can utilize to improve your health over the next 30 days. What would it look like for you if you had more balance? If you applied the law of motion and you recognize, oh, okay, fascia is hydrated by movement. And I just got to move my body every day. And if I just roll my shoulders forward and then roll them back, and I did it every day and I got excited about it, what do you think that would do for you? And then we have the law of the harvest, right? You sow an act, you reap a habit. You sow a habit, you reap character. You sow a character and you reap destiny. Now, all of a sudden, after 90 days, you become the person who can always work out. Go figure. You become the person who's always excited. Go figure. And so if you're looking for a system, that's the system. It's the law of the harvest. This is what people expect. Health compounds in both directions. And every diligent action sown into your body accumulates silently until one day the compound interest expresses itself in ways that cannot be argued with. This is the bodybuilder, the natural bodybuilder, right? He's working out every day as consistently as he can. And go figure, after a year, he looks real good, right? She looks real good because they're applying the law of the harvest. They're expecting the result, not tomorrow, not at the end of the month. And when at the end of the month comes, they're not just, man, it's the end of the month and I didn't get it. They're going to get it back at it again because they're focused on the inputs. You have to create a new environment. And so when you're focused on a harvest, you understand that that seed needs to be fed the right environment. And your surroundings program your standards and your nervous system. What kind of environment are you feeding your body? This is when you start talking about, okay, what's going on in my environment? What's going on with the frequencies that you might be getting fed, right? And so the law of dominion is number 10. You were not given a body to manage, you were given a body to command. So you can command your body to release, you can command your body to heal. And write down your mastery declaration. I no longer manage my body, I command it. What's something that you think you can command over your body? You can command your body to heal. We've seen it time and time again. And I tell my clients about this all the time. You're not in the passenger seat, you're in the driver's seat. At any point in time, you can turn your health around. And so here we go. Those were the 10 laws of health mastery. And that's why we believe mastery is the only way forward. The world is moving faster than any generation has ever experienced. In 2026 and beyond, it demands your attention, your energy, and your nervous system only to get better every single day. You know, we can't change the triggers that are in our external environment, but we can change the triggers that are in our internal environment. We can choose to not fight ourselves from the inside out, and then try to show up and change our external situation, right? Which is also fighting us from the external side inside. There has to be a state that we live in that is strong, healthy, sharp, wise, focused on getting better every single day. And so your brain fog taxes every decision. Inflammation taxes every effort. And anxiety takes every relationship. That is so true. If you don't show up as your optimally healthy self, you will get left behind, not by the world's cruelty, but by simple arithmetic. Optimal health is no longer a luxury. It is the price of entry to your own potential. And so here's what's on the other side, guys. Energy, clarity, freedom, hope. And so if that sounds exciting to you, because I know from working in hospice care, working with clients who have chronic pain issues, chronic inflammatory issues, can't name any conditions, but they're there. If you have some level of chronic inflammation, I see you. And it's not just in your head, but I know if these things are constantly what will dictate the rest of your day. When that flare up happens, all 4 of these things go all at the same time sometimes. But I see you. And so we want to ask you, take our mastery map in our community, the Mastery Health Academy. We'll include the link down below, and it's free, right? And you can ask us all of these questions. You can ask us, where are you going to start next? You start your fascia reset, right? Which is going to restore your body at the mechanical level. It's going to help you to feed oxygen into your brain. It's going to help you to be more alive again in your tissues, not have your joints aching and paining you and thinking it's just inflammation, right? That's what they tell you. It's, oh, that's just some joint inflammation. They name it a condition, but yeah, you have chronic joint inflammation. Well, what's causing it? They don't tell you. They're not going to tell you. It's just tension. It's just tension. And so if this sounds exciting to you guys, if this sounds like, man, I really want to get into my next, I want to live in optimal health, join the Mastery Health Academy. Ask us all the questions. Do it yourself. Apply these same principles yourself: metabolic, mitochondrial, mental, mechanical, right? Think about that. If you were to shift and feed nutrition at these 4 layers, 4 levels, how would that change your body? Because we are only as powerful as the words we are willing to keep to ourselves. Your confidence as an individual is directly related to how you see yourself. The person you are becoming already exists. You're simply choosing right now whether you're willing to speak that person into being. It starts with words. It started there in the beginning of this talk, and we'll finish with words at the end of this talk, because mastery is dominion. All right, guys. Hopefully you guys have some level of understanding about what's next, what I can do. I can commit myself to mastery in my health, and my health will improve. It will get better. And if you have any questions, join us in the Mastery Health Academy, where we're asking all your questions and giving you a protocol and a process and a framework to healing your body every single day.